Hey guys, today we're going to be comparing the Nexus 6 and the Moto X 2013. Now you may be wondering, Sahan, why are you comparing two phones that are obviously not really that comparable? I mean, one was launched in 2014 and one was obviously launched in 2013. Well, here's the thing. They're both stock Android, they both come from Motorola, and I mean, they're both sort of similar in a lot of ways. Of course, one's going to be seriously outdated, but it also will have the price to match that. At the same time, this phone's going to be a lot more expensive, but I don't know, it's also going to have the specs to match that. And also, these are two phones that I have available right now, so why not just compare them? So first we're going to start with hardware. So I'll start with the Nexus 6, because it's newer. Right away, this is a giant phone. I mean, that's pretty obvious. It's about 6 inches, I mean, it's got a giant screen, but it also feels really good in the hand. It's got that standard Motorola dimple, Nexus branding, and it fits well in the hand. Obviously it's a little big, so it's going to be a little tough to reach, you know, the status bar once in a while, especially with the springy status bar that Lollipop brought. But overall, it's pretty alright. I mean, you also got those two front-facing speakers. Now, right away, these speakers are some of the loudest things I've ever heard. They're very, very loud front-facing speakers for a phone. I'll be showing you that later. We'll do a quick speaker comparison in a bit. Now the screen, it's an AMOLED 6-inch quad HD screen, meaning lots and lots of pixels. This thing is a very, very vibrant and nice screen. It doesn't get that dark, which is a little disappointing. I believe it's the same screen that came off the Samsung S4, but it's also not bad, especially considering it is, in terms of looks, it is a AMOLED, it's an AMOLED screen, meaning that it handles some things really well. For example, blacks. Normally, I do have a black background on, which lets me save a little bit of battery, because AMOLED tends to turn off black pixels, which is awesome. Lets you save a little battery. Which also allows for some of the software features we'll talk about in a little bit. Let's see what else we got. We got the camera on the back. It's a very, very large camera next to this little Motorola dimple. Now the camera is 13 megapixels, OIS, takes some really, really nice shots. It's not perfect in low light, but other than that, it's actually pretty solid, especially for my daily driver. You got your USB port, micro USB port on the bottom, got your dual front-facing speakers like I talked about before, and you got your 2 megapixel front-facing camera. You got your headphone jack on the top, which I've more or less gotten used to because I previously owned this device. You got your SIM card slot also on the top. And yeah, this thing comes in a few color variations, but not nearly as much as this guy, which we'll talk about again in a little bit. And yeah, volume marker on the side, same with the power buttons, which is nice. Pretty easy to go ahead and press those. Now, you might think this guy is way too big, but I've actually sort of gotten used to it. I mean, it's basically replaced my tablet and my phone. I just kind of use it during the day as a phone, and then when I come back home, I just charge it up. It also supports turbocharging, which is really nice. I did not get this thing brand new, so I did not get my turbocharger, but I will probably order one soon. Now, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, this is a very pretty phone. As you can just see, just looking at it on the table, it's very nice. Now let's go with the Moto X. Now this is a 2013 phone. Like this, sadly, this is not a front-facing speaker. This is just for phone calls and such. Got your 2 megapixel front-facing camera, the 10 megapixel camera on the back. Now this thing is okay. It doesn't have OIS. It's 10 megapixels, so you can get some pretty decent shots. I mean, they're not amazing. They're probably not what you're gonna get out of this guy over here, but they're not bad. I mean, especially for a phone that you can probably get for about $100 right now. You also got your flash right here, your Motorola dimple, which actually makes a lot more sense on this guy because it's actually finger-sized. At least average finger sized. The speaker is front or back facing, and it's alright. I mean, it's not, it gets loud. It definitely gets loud. Motorola does seem to have a thing for loud speakers. Now they're not exactly clear, but they're very, very loud. They can get loud. Not as loud as this guy, but pretty loud. You got your Verizon branding. This is a Verizon phone. And yeah, I mean, this thing comes in a variety of color combinations thanks to Moto Maker, although you will be paying full price for Moto Maker, which makes it not as good of a deal. Yeah, you got your microphone here, and active display keeps turning on, which I'll also talk about in a second. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything about this phone for the most part. 2 megapixel front facer, not sure if I mentioned that, and your power button volume rocker on the side, like this guy. I mean, in some ways, this guy is basically the Nexus 6 on steroids. I mean, it's a smaller phone with lesser internals, but you know, it's basically still got that Motorola look and feel. Same with software, is very similar. And yeah, same with your micro USB in the bottom. So very much a very similar feeling phone in some ways. Obviously not as big. Your 4.7 inch AMOLED screen, and I mean 4.7 inches, pretty solid. I mean, it's very good for just a regular phone, and I mean, not definitely a huge jump from this guy to this guy. It took a little bit getting used to, but I sort of figured it out eventually. So now let's delve into software. Now, of course, these guys are both running stock Android, and this guy's running Lollipop, my Moto X is running KitKat. Some variants of the Moto X have gotten Lollipop already, but I don't have it, so that's not what I'm going to compare. Now, it's Lollipop versus KitKat, there's obviously a ton of differences, but I'm going to just count the things that I know are going to be different, regardless of whether this guy gets Lollipop or not. Since these were both made by Motorola, a lot of them have, the Nexus 6 does have some Motorola features that have sort of been changed a little bit to not be exactly the same. The first one being ambient display, which, if I can get it to work, basically is like active display but not as good. Instead of activating this kind of like semi notification screen thing, it'll actually turn on your entire screen, only showing the home screen. Like, it'll basically turn on this, but like black. The problem is, unlike active display, it's a lot harder to turn on, and it's not exactly perfect, but I mean, it works. The other thing is Moto Voice, which you can activate with an OK Google Now. Well, that didn't work right away, obviously, but let's see if I can get it to work again. OK Google Now. There we go. So now they both have Always Listening Google Now, which is pretty nice. It helped me a lot on my recent trip, which you can read about on masalatech.com. Anyways, what else? So the Moto Suite not only includes active display and Moto Voice, it also includes things like Moto Assist, whatever the backup utility was. I think it was like Moto. Well, there was basically one where you could, like, when you jump to a new phone, you could import all your old stuff. That was pretty nice. Yeah, overall, I mean, you can get this guy for about $100 used, but you won't get the benefits of Moto Maker, obviously. You can also get the Nexus 6. I picked up mine for about $420 with a charger, not a turbocharger, a regular charger, which was a decent deal. I mean, not bad, especially considering this thing sells outright for about $650, I believe. Now, the Nexus 6 comes unlocked for pretty much any carrier, from what I know, if you buy it from Google or Motorola. And the Moto X comes with Verizon branding, or whatever branding, depending on whatever carrier you're using. It does not come unlocked, unlike the new one. So, is it worth getting the Moto X when you could just wait for the new Moto G, especially if you're looking for a budget device, or even the new Moto X, or just the Moto X Sport, or the Pure Edition? I'd say if you're waiting for about a year before you're buying a new phone, this one's a good buy, because it's $100. You get a really solid phone for a really good deal. I mean, the Moto G is also a great phone, but you also don't get some of the, like, I don't know, there's definitely some things on this thing. For example, this has 2 gigs of RAM versus the Moto G's 1 gig, especially if you're going for a cheaper price than getting this used. I guess internals are one more thing we can talk about. So this guy runs the Snapdragon 805 with 3 gigs of RAM. This guy runs the Snapdragon S4, which is a special version of the Snapdragon that Motorola made themselves, which is dual core and modified to fit all the, you know, Google Voice, modified to fit all the special Motorola stuff, like Always Listening and stuff like that, and 2 gigs of RAM, like I said before. This guy obviously just breezes through pretty much anything really quickly. Pretty much any apps open instantly. You can go between apps really quickly, and I pretty much never have to worry about opening too many apps at the same time. Everything works really well. Now, this guy, I mean, it works really well. Although occasionally, if I'm doing things like updating a ton of apps in the background while I'm doing something, then things start to chug a little bit, to the point where the phone's almost unusable. It gets kind of annoying. Now, let's talk about battery life. This guy's got, I believe, a 3100 milliamp hour battery, which on a Quad HD display isn't great, but it's not bad either. It can get me through about one day without a lot of heavy use. This is through general use. I can get about a day out of it. Heavy use, I can get about 3 to 4 hours of screen on time, which, not bad. Enough to get me through a day, unless I'm doing any serious video watching or playing a game or something. This guy, the main reason I jumped to the Nexus 6 was battery life. That was a big thing for me. This guy can only get me to about, I think about 3 hours of screen on time, 2.5 most of the time, and that was through just moderate use. That was really pretty bad. They do both have battery saver, however the Nexus 6 is built into the software, or is built into Android itself, so it tends to work a little better. And I actually tried running this thing with battery saver on all day, and got about roughly 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, which was awesome. I'm hoping to ROM it or root it sometime soon to get some, better battery life and such, but we'll see how that works out. So I think I've covered pretty much all the major things about these guys. I mean, they're both very solid choices. Like I said before, if you want a budget phone, I would actually suggest this guy over the new Moto G, especially if you're going to jump to a new phone in about a year. And if you're looking for a stock Android experience with a really powerful hardware, that you could get for about $400 for a used phone or $650 brand new, especially if you're on Verizon or on any carrier that doesn't get a ton of phones. The Nexus 6 is an awesome choice. You might think it's a little too big, but I actually haven't dropped this guy once, so take that for what it's worth. I'm a pretty clumsy person overall. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and a like. Check out our Twitter and our website at masalatech.com. And remember to always keep things spicy.